Good evening. We'll do another video with the triplex here. You can see it's gotten a little shorter. I'm getting ready to box it up, but I want to do one more video with this thing before it gets crated up. So as far as adjusting the headstock on these machines, you can see right now I got in a lathe set up right now. So I got a bar between centers with the driver there, which that's an original triplex driver, threads onto the end of the spindle. You just of course set your work in there. Of course your tailstock, it would be fixed, and you'd use your quill to bring it over. But as far as aligning everything up, it's a little different than say like a tool room lathe, where your headstock will be fixed to the bed, and you would either, depending on the model of lathe, you either have to adjust the headstock or adjust the bed, or a combination of the two, to get to cut true. On this one, your bed is pretty well fixed around the column there. Consider just each direction on this thing does have a little bit of adjustment. So as far as the horizontal axis on this, there's a limit screw down here to adjust where your bottom the head will go. So with that, you can adjust kind of how much tilt this way is going to be in your head, kind of your vertical rise and fall of your work there. I wanted to adjust this one, but I actually found that the screw there is kind of buggered up, and in order to fix it, I'm going to have to actually pull that whole spindle assembly out to back the screw out and doctor the threads on it. So for meantime, we're just going to kind of point and show what's going on here. So it's the same thing with your vertical screw there. You essentially adjust the limit, and whenever you switch your setup, you push it all the way down to that limit. So that would adjust kind of your vertical on your spindle. Now as far as your work adjustment this way, your taper of the work, your tailstock is set. That's keyed into the base there. I imagine you could probably bump it, a couple tenths one way or the other. But honestly, your main adjustment is going to be in the bed itself. There's a key here to lock it in its kind of home zero position. I imagine there's probably going to be a little bit of slop in that key though, so if you're really trying to dial this thing in true, what I would recommend, let's back the spindle out here. And we're going to bring this over. What I would do would be to use an indicator on the end of your quill there, because that's really seems to be the most reliable flat surface to indicate off of. And so if we're mocking this up just for kicks and giggles. So you bring that over till, I would take this off, but bring it on the end of your quill there, and then bring your table across there to see how level it is. And I think you can do that in both axes. Now for your taper, there is a zero line on here. Of course, you have a scale there. It tells you how much taper you want. You have zero in the middle, and then there's a line scribed all the way across here that would be your zero. But like tramming a head on the mill, I mean, you can eyeball it, but that's going to get you so close. But I think to really true it in, you would use an indicator on the quill there. Now, of course, they say that between centers is about the most accurate turn you can do on a lathe. Like I said, I was fortunate to still have the original Ames driving fork here. The centers is one I made to fit the 2 AM socket there, and then the tailstock is just the Morse number 2. Still don't have a lathe tool post set up. Just kind of, when I have been cutting on, I've been using the vise there to hold the bit. But anyway, there's not a lot to it, as far as adjustments. It's just it adjusts differently than you would do normally on a lathe, or even on a mill for that matter. But I think it's going to be closer to a mill. You're essentially nodding your head into alignment with one direction, and then tilting your table for alignment in the other direction. Of course, once your table, you would only adjust your vertical travel on your table to get your tool cutter centered with it, and then once you know it's dialed and true, you lock it in, and then you can just move your table wherever you need to for turning. But anyway, that's what I've gathered on this thing. The other issue I did find too is I've got a chuck set for this. This is a adjustable 3-jaw buck chuck that has seen better days, but it's better than the chuck that was on this machine when I started. Previous owner had welded, and this wasn't on the triplex, this is some other application. They welded extensions on these jaws here, and I cut those off to get them back to being normal jaws. But now I'm seeing that there's I don't think you can see it there, but there's that piece is clamped in there, but there's some bell mouthing action going on with the jaw there. You can see where it's not touching on the tip right there. So for this chuck to really do any feasible work, I'm going to have to grind out those jaws to get them flat again. The other issue I have, it's a little tight, and I think related to the overextensions on the jaws is that there are some fine cracks in a few places on this chuck, where you can tell that the jaws were torqued down a little too tight, or beat on or something. And I think for doing lightweight turning like this machine would see, it's probably not going to hurt it, but long term, you probably need to find another 5-inch 3-jaw buck chuck. But on the bright side, I now have a back plate to bolt it to that matches this oddball threaded spindle on this machine. So the spindle thread and the spindle collet system are the most oddball part of this machine, I think. The rest of it is just, T-nuts to bolt down whatever fixture you want, and Morse tape on your tailstock for whatever you want to put in there. So that part of the tooling is fine. But I think that's about it. You see, for doing lathe work, you do have a very small through hole, but it is there. I think collets on these would max out, or at least round collets would max out at 1/2 inch. So they made it so you could get a 1/2 inch stick of material through the spindle there, but that's it. I really wish they made more of these machines and maybe made some other models. It would be nice if they had a machine that was 2 or 3 times the size with all the same features. So with they have some real ingenuity in how they designed it. It's just really, really small for what it is. But anyway, there's another shot of the triplex.